You are here today with Grant and Laurel Fishbook, and we are passionate about having raw, real conversation. We all wrestle with difficult questions that are never spoken aloud, leading to thoughts that remain isolated and unresolved. We want to give voice to those thoughts today as we discuss some of life's toughest questions, trusting in Jesus for wisdom and discernment as we navigate them together. Join us today live as we continue the conversation.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Wednesday and it's podcast day. And you might notice it looks a little bit different in here. It's a little bit warmer. Everything is painted. We got some new sound treatment. It feels a little bit nicer in here.
It feels good.
But it's the same crew. I'm here with Grant and Laurel Fishbook, and we're going to do what we do once a month, and that's just continue the conversation. What we like to do is just dive into hard questions and topics that you might want to talk about, whether it's life, the Bible, Jesus, relationships, what it's like to be married pastors in 2025. I know they love those questions. But please give us your questions, whether it's live questions or emailed. You can send all your email questions to live@Jesus.net. They all come to me. We can always keep them anonymous if that's what you prefer. But we want to lean on your live questions. We want to make those a priority. And just so you guys know, there isn't any prep for Grant and Laurel with these questions. They have no idea what the questions are, what the topics are. So if you see them sitting for a second and thinking, that's because we're live. And so that's the reality of what we're doing.
And if the responses don't make sense, well,
yeah,
we pray and then show up. That's the prep.
Yeah. Exactly. And we just let God do the rest of the heavy lifting. But enough of me talking. We're going to dive into our questions. The first question is from our friend Steve. This one says, reading Job sometimes worsens my depression because I relate to the wrong friends. My depression has been bad lately, and I'm back in the book of Job. What should I do?
This is good because this is one of Laurel's favorite books. Laurel loves the book of Job and shares from it often with me. So go for it.
I was wondering, is that a setup or are you going to continue? I guess I'm trying to understand relates to the wrong friends. So I'm assuming he's blaming himself that he's done something wrong and that's why he's experiencing what he's experiencing. And I think that's not where Job ends. And it's important to read through the whole book, not stop with those three friends, because Elihu comes in and says, yes, we do have to do that self-examination, right? Like, am I having consequences in my life because of something I've done? Or is this just life? And I think it's so important to understand that God offers us protection, but he doesn't say he's going to hold back. He can't hold back. Sin entered the world. And so there is that brokenness and there is those hurts and pains of a broken world, but he promises to protect us in the midst of it. And one of the biggest things he promises is redemption. And that you see in the Job story is he promises to work all things together for good. And that means the tough stuff that we're going through, if we surrender to him, he will work it together for good. And he did. That's how Job ends. It doesn't take away the loss or the pain or the hurt. And that's part of the life that we walk here on earth. That pain-free life is in heaven and it's coming. But for here, we have to trust in God's protection and that he will right the wrongs. And so read through till the end of Job. Yeah. It's important.
Yeah. Laurel helped me kind of restructure my picture of Job because, Steve, I can totally relate to you. So I've battled depression too at different times and had to work that through. And Job can seem really, really heavy if you don't see some of the redemption stories that are in there. And so Laurel helped me. I always used to bust the three friends. Like, these guys are horrible. What are they thinking? They just make it so bad. She told me one time, she goes, I think you have the wrong picture of the friends. Like, how many friends do you have that would show up for 7 days, sit in silence with you in the midst of all of your pain and just be there for you?
Yeah, they might not have been giving the wisest advice,
but
they were trying.
And they showed up.
And that counts for something.
Which is beautiful. And then Elihu shows up, one of the youngest ones. Well, he is the youngest one of all of it. And he brings the most wisdom. So that gives you another picture of how we can have our heart open to the wisdom of young people when they're connected with God.
And that's key because he says, this is the words of God. Like he prayed and he waited. So he said that's the difference. Is these are spirit filled. Like what I'm going to say to you, I've actually meditated on and
Yes.
prayed
Yeah.
for. And so that's the key is where are you getting your wisdom from? Friends that are just trying to shoot from the hip, or
Yeah.
are they really seeking God's guidance and direction in the midst of it?
Yeah. And what we learn coming out of the book is there's so much beauty between the relationship with Job and God,
Yeah.
and how after they have their honest, real conversations, Job's connection is deeper than ever. We were reading Job 38, 39, 40 in that whole area where God just starts asking him questions. Like, where were you when I made storehouses for all of the snow in the world? Where were you when I took a hook and put it in the Leviathan's mouth?
But it
And
wasn't a like, where were you? It
yeah,
wasn't
no,
said like
it's
that.
not.
It's
It's not
it's
accusatory.
Yeah.
just a reminder to
Yep.
Job of I am in control. Like there is nothing too big for me. And he talks
Exactly.
about it's either the behemoth or
The
something.
behemoth, yeah.
Being his pet, right? Like no one else could do that. So I think it's not an accusatory.
Nope.
It's just a very direct
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, he tells him, oh, I need you to brace yourself because we're going to have a man-to-man conversation here.
Yeah.
Actually, God-to-man conversation.
Yeah.
But what comes out of it, there's a beauty of not only restoration and redemption, but there's an acknowledgement of Job lost a lot.
Mhm.
And just because he got everything restored doesn't mean he didn't still miss
Yeah.
his family from the beginning and even some parts of his life from the beginning. But ultimately, God has his way and Job finds his way. And so for anyone who's dealing with depression, that's the thing. God knows where you're at and he's going to find a way. The question is whether you can stay with Job's heart, which is like, I know my Redeemer lives. And
Well, he also came
even
to
though
a
he
place
slays me.
of complete humility, right?
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
I think sometimes in our darkest moments, we want to fix things ourselves. And it's in that humility that we go, this is so far beyond me. God, it's all yours. And it's in that point of surrender, which Job got to,
Yeah.
that things started to change.
Yeah. And it's okay for us to say, my depression is beyond me right now.
Yeah.
But that's where God steps in and meets us in that deep, dark moment.
Yeah.
He met Job in the deep, dark moment, and Steve, he can meet you in yours too.
Yeah.
But the key
Yeah.
is Job didn't stay there alone.
He
He
didn't.
sought wisdom. And we all need to do that. Depression can be so isolating. And
Mhm.
so I think in modern day, we sometimes need to seek medical help or counseling or whatever, but we do need to go beyond ourselves, just like Job did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, so just something, so Steve, so you can be encouraged in the month of October is Mental Health Awareness Month, and the Writers of a Miracle Every Day, which is a part of the Jesus.net family. We actually did 4 different weeks on anxiety and depression, and Deborah wrote about her own experience. I wrote about mine. And so hopefully that will be really encouraging during the month of October for you. You're not alone in your battle. So many
Yeah.
people are dealing with depression and anxiety, but God has beautiful answers and presence for us. It's not about trying to fix it.
Yeah.
It's about the fact that God is in there with me in those moments when I'm anxious, when I'm depressed, when I'm struggling, and when I'm joyful. He's there through all of that. And I think that's one of the primary messages of Job too. God's there.
Yeah. Grant, I love that you said, even though in Job's story, everything kind of resolved in the end, he still missed what he lost.
Absolutely.
Tommy says, how do you hold on when praying feels painful, when your faith feels gone, and it seems like there's no hope for your life to turn around?
What was the first part of that again?
How do you hold on when
How do you
praying
hold on
feels
when you're
painful?
praying? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really hard to understand God's ways, and he says we won't, right? So sometimes when those answers don't come quickly, humanly, we're just filled with doubts and questions that, God, are you even there? And I don't remember where I heard this from, but it was like almost comparing that waiting to an elastic band, right? And without the trials and stuff that you go through, you have this elastic band that, it might do what it needs to do. It is kind of limp and it just is in the same place. And that stretching of the elastic band is the waiting, and the stretching can hurt and it can be painful. But when there is that breakthrough, it is like the power to catapult you so much farther than if you were just this little elastic band that had never been stretched. Because there's so much growing and learning that happens in the waiting, and it's hard. It is really, really hard. I'm there right now. I mean, I've been waiting 30 plus years, right? So It's
For a healing.
for a healing,
Yeah.
for a miracle. So I know you're going, okay, Lord. There's moments isn't this been long enough?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, just like Job, like we said last time, there are those times where you go, oh my goodness, I know I've gained so much more than I've lost in the waiting. But in the moment, it's hard to see that. And so I think that's where we hang on to God's promises, because he's never, ever
Yeah.
broken a promise, ever. And we have to go back to that no matter how difficult it gets, I know there is breakthrough coming. I know he will right this wrong. I know he will work all things together for good. It's just holding on to that lifeline in the midst of it.
I heard a line one time that the best time to pray is when you don't feel like praying.
Yeah.
So you literally stay in the conversation. And I love how the question was embodied, because what it literally means is we can take that very feeling and say, God, I don't feel like praying today.
Mm-hmm.
I feel completely empty. And in that vulnerability and transparency, God ministers to us in ways that we don't understand if we're not going to be honest. And so we literally can step into that space. Here's what it's hard. I don't feel like it. My heart is empty. I'm discouraged. David in the Psalms does that over and over and over again. It's literally called lament. He's lamenting the situation that he's in. But in every single one of them, if you listen to the lament Psalms, he turns a corner. After he lays out, I'm up to my neck. I'm stuck in a hole. I can't get out on my own. I've cried all night. My hands are exhausted from being lifted. And then it turns. But I will trust in the never failing love of God, my Savior. His promises are sure. And that's where I'm going to rest.
Yeah.
And he talks about, there's one psalm in particular, I can't remember which one it is. It's not 40, it's 42, I think. But anyway, he said, God literally tucks me into sleep at the end because I've got no more tears. I'm completely spent, and God's going to tuck me in tonight because tomorrow morning it's going to be better. And I think that's it. We attach ourselves to the God of our strength and say, I got nothing.
And I think with David too, he had a lot of words. He was good with words.
He was very good with words.
Sometimes you're at a loss for words, and that's okay. You
Yeah.
don't need an eloquent prayer. If it's just hard to pray, saying the name of Jesus is enough.
Yeah.
And there's lots of prayers in the Bible. Like we were talking about Bartimaeus the other day, who Jesus says, what do you want me to do for you? And his response was, I just want to see. I just want to see. And
that's it.
Yeah. And so I think those prayers can be so simple. We don't have to overcomplicate them. Sometimes it's just sitting in his presence with no words at all.
Yeah.
And that's prayer. That's connection with God. So just don't put the pressure on yourself to have the right words to say. It can just be sitting in silence too.
Well, one of the promises is when we don't know what to say, the Holy Spirit literally intercedes on our behalf.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it says in that verse that the Holy Spirit intercedes with groans that are indiscernible. So the Holy Spirit doesn't use words either in that moment. And I think there's something about it. It's just so raw. It's so real, but it's also so safe. I can say anything to God anytime, and he has space for that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes when we run out of words, we listen.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
so
when
true.
we get to hear God speak to us instead of the other way around.
Yeah. My friend Sam Middlebrook always used to say, he goes, Graham, what do you think? Like sometimes God shouts, but sometimes God whispers. He goes, think about that. When someone you love whispers to you, what's the first thing you do? You get quiet, lean in because you want to hear what they're saying. Then God is exactly the same thing. Like, I'm not going to compete with the noise of your life. So just if you can quiet down and hear what I'm whispering to you, what an incredible gift comes out of that. So yeah, great question.
That's great. Inca is a longtime listener.
Yeah.
They're always with us. I feel like every week giving us great questions. One of the live questions she gave us is, what advice did you give to your children about dating?
Oh,
you know, we just were talking about this in our life group the other day, because I don't know that we did the best advice when it comes to dating and sex, because our kids were raised in the purity culture where you gave them a purity ring and it's just like, just don't do it. And it was so much about guard your virginity, right? Instead of actually protecting yourself and protecting your heart. And so I'm not sure what we taught our kids about dating is really the best advice.
yeah.
But I would encourage you, when you're teaching your kids or teenagers now, or even younger, I think you have to start so young now, about dating is just the value and the worth of who they are. Because I think when it's just, talking about abstinence and the rules and whatever, when you cross that line, if they do lose their virginity, they look at it like, I've already crossed the line. So instead of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a mistake and I'm worth more than that. So I'm not going to do it again. So I think just really watch the languaging and the context, because I think the church for a long time has done a lot of do's and don'ts, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to sex,
Right.
right? Don't do it, don't do it. And then, okay, once you're married, go ahead. And it's,
Yeah. How does
kind of,
that compute?
What do I do with this?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think it's more about just really, really building into them who they are, whose they are, right? And just how they need to value themselves in every decision, and mistakes are going to happen. They are. This is how you come back from that.
Yeah. Laurel and I actually been having this conversation because I grew up in purity culture as well. And it was all fear.
Mm.
If you do this, like, God is going to judge you, you will be struck down. And it changes the motivation. Like, it really changes it. And so we were just talking the other day about the shift that, I love God, and the way that I show like, the way I show that I love God is I don't do this and I don't do this and I don't do this and I don't do this.
Well, and
Mhm.
that's how like we were talking, that's how God would receive it. Like,
Yes.
God, I'm going to love you by not doing this. I'm going to love you by not doing
Yeah.
this. And
And the flip side is, no, I love God. And because of that, I'm going to choose this.
Mhm.
I'm going to choose purity. I'm going to choose respecting the person that God has placed in my life
yeah,
Mhm.
by not putting them in a position where they feel manipulated or pressured in any way. This is how I love God. I stay in the beautiful place that he's created for me, a place of like safety. And so we've had it upside down for a long time. And it's interesting because I was just writing a message about this and I defaulted back to all the old language. Don't. Oh, you're married, go. Like, it just doesn't, it's not healthy and it's not helpful. So I'll tell you what, we are so blessed because I thought Laurel did a phenomenal job as a parent. And one of the things that I saw, she always had a space for conversation. I have a lot of regrets. I wish I could go back and do some things different. And I'm so glad and so proud of the fact my kids are walking with Jesus today. Like, that's incredible. It's such a beautiful gift. But one of the things that I would say that Laurel did so much better than I, but she did it and our kids reaped the benefit, is there was a safe space to have conversation all the time. All the time. And
Mhm.
Laurel just kept asking questions and she never let silence sit in. And it was a beautiful, incredible gift to our kids. So if I was going to answer Yinka's question, it would be create space where your kids feel safe to talk about anything. And if they don't want to talk, keep asking questions.
Yeah.
and build in safeguards, I think, too. Like,
Mm.
set them up for success. There
Yeah.
are rules and things that are good to follow when,
Yeah.
you don't need to be alone in your bedroom. Those
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of things.
Yeah.
It was really, our kids always had it out too. If they did go to a party or an event they wanted to leave, we were always willing to be the bad guy. Like,
Yeah.
we just, said, message us with a word or whatever, and we'll call you and say, we've got
You're
to pick
coming
you up.
home now.
Yeah,
Oh,
but just
yeah.
My
or
parents are
blame
taking
it on
yeah.
us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
we were always willing to be the bad guy in
Yeah.
situations and give them an out of a situation they didn't want to be a part of.
Yeah. I think I actually did that a couple times. I was
Yeah.
just like, hey, Mom, can you call me? And she just knew what I was doing. She'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, dinner's ready. We got to come home.
Right.
Yeah.
So that whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
A safety door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a great question from Sharon. This one says, does God really hear my prayers? I've surrendered to him, but it feels like he's been silent. Where is he at this time?
Well, let's answer the first question. Does God hear your prayer? Yes, because he promised that he would. So he hears you. Regardless of how you feel about that, God hears you. Every single word. He knows your heart. He actually knows your prayer before you speak it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the promise in scripture, right? My sheep hear my voice. They know me. And so we know him. That's the bottom line on that one.
Yeah, I think there's so much too, is just knowing the heart of God, that there's no way he could not hear your prayers. And the Bible even talks about he catches every tear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his heart breaks when our hearts are breaking too. And you just picture this loving God, like literally catching every tear, going, this is not what I wanted for you. This
Yeah.
is not my plan in the first place. But this is the world that man chose, actually, when sin entered into it. And
Mhm.
so all through scripture, if you read the heart of God, it is so loving and so kind, and it is so protective. And when you get to know who he is, you know that there's no way he will turn his back on you. And he says that, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I'm always with you. And this again is a God who's never broken a promise. This is somebody that all through history, all through
Yeah.
time, there's never ever been a time that a promise has been broken. And so when he says that, it's true. He's with you. And I think sometimes we determine what that feels like, what that looks like. And I think in those moments, just say, God, help me see you, because I know you're here,
Mhm.
but he might not show up in the way that you're thinking is how you want him to show up, because that might not be the best way for you. So just say, show me where you are in these moments. And he will reveal himself to you.
Mhm.
But I think sometimes we're looking in the wrong places, quite honestly.
Yeah, we did a
Yeah.
podcast one time about just hearing the voice of God. It's like way back
Yeah.
with one of the other formats with our friend Emily Jameson. And Emily said, "What if silence?" So she defined two things. She said, "Silence is not absence." So let's make sure we know that
Yeah.
and know the difference between silence and quietness, because they're different. And she said, "What if quietness was actually an invitation to step a little closer, make yourself intentionally quiet, so you can really connect deeply in the character of who God says that he is." I love that. When Laura was talking about the tenderness of God's character, one of my favorite verses, the Lord is near to the brokenhearted. Like, just think about that word near. Your heart's broken, he's right there. And there's other scriptures that are just kind of flipping through my brain right now. It's just about the nearness of God, his proximity, how close he is. And, looking in the places, like ask him to reveal himself in a way that was so powerful that you couldn't miss it. I think that's a beautiful, honest request from somebody. God, just show me where you are. Because it doesn't feel like you're near right now, but I know you are. So just show me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had times like that where I feel like God's distant. Really, I think it's just me being distant from him. But one of my prayers during those times was always, God, allow me to feel your arms wrapped around me today.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I think back, okay, what were moments in the day
Mm-hmm.
that was possible, or that I experienced his joy or his peace and all that.
Yeah.
So just invite him into that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think too, there's a girl that has shared her near-death experience. She, I think it was 14 years ago that this happened, and she's just finally had the courage to actually share about it. But
Mhm.
one of the things she struggled with so much in her life was just feeling unlovable. Well, actually unloved even more so,
Yeah.
just that people weren't loving her. And she said it was so amazing during this time where she really feels she was kind of on the edge of heaven, or and she said when she saw her life before her, it was like from the moment she was born, Jesus was showing all the people he put into her life to love her and love on her.
Hmm.
And she said it was overwhelming. And she goes, I'm looking at it going, how did I miss this? Like, how did I miss this? All the people that were constantly loving on me and speaking into my life. But sometimes we truly determine what we see and what we don't see.
Mhm.
And we just need God to take those blinders off.
Yeah. I've struggled feeling loved by God for years. It's always been, we've talked about it, here in this room before. And when Laurel shared that NDE with that story, I just thought it gave me a moment to look back. And what a beautiful thing to look back and go, look at all the people that God placed in my life to make sure that I knew I was loved. I struggled to receive it, but that doesn't mean God wasn't
Right.
pouring.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the biblical word is lavish, how he has lavished his love. Like, it's just overflowing. And when you stop and look back, I think that'd be a great exercise for all of us. Just look back and look at all the ways that God has shown you his love through other people, through protection, through hope, through a word that just showed up in the middle of nowhere, for a text that just popped into your box exactly when you needed it.
Mhm.
All of those are indications. That's all an extension of how God loves us.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. This is a very real relationship question from our friend Mercy. Mercy says, I became a Christian in 2006, but my partner has been unfaithful, abusive, and now has another family he's legally married into. He pays for our child's needs, but threatens to stop if I leave. How should I handle this?
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
So, like, I think there's a legal part of it that I don't think he can not pay. I don't know what state. I don't know all
Well,
of
we
that.
don't even know what culture.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
because there are cultures where there are allowances, and so
Totally.
yeah, we don't really know what the box is inside of this one.
Um,
So here's where my heart goes. My heart goes into a place of, first of all, you became a follower of Jesus, which means there are inherent rights to your worthiness, your love, your hope, and you deserve better than what you're actually
yeah, most
receiving right now.
definitely.
Mhm.
So let's go to that first of all. You are a daughter of the Most High God, worthy of honor and respect, protection and help in those things. Like, let's just start there. You're in an intensely toxic situation. And for the sake of your own soul, my first inclination would be to say you need to step out of the toxicity because you deserve better and your child deserves better. And whether that has a financial implication or not, God will look after you and he will look after your child.
Yeah.
And so to stay in a toxic relationship for the sake of financial security, to me, it is not, that's not helpful to you because it's literally crushing you.
Well,
And
and that very financial security is actually another level of abuse. It's
it
manipulation.
is.
He's using it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't even just say first inclination. My only inclination is
There
you
you
need
go.
to walk away. There is no
Yeah.
other option from this because think of protecting your children too. More than financially protecting them, you need to guard their hearts, right?
There
And
you go.
protect them. And this is they will destroy them.
Mhm.
So I don't think there is any other
Mm-mm.
option but to walk away and then truly trust how God will provide for you. So he always makes a way when it seems absolutely impossible. But I am so sorry that you even have to
Yeah.
go through something like that. That just breaks my heart that there are people out there that are so cruel and evil to treat somebody that they are supposed to love and protect in that way. So I'm sorry for that
Yeah.
hurt that your heart must be feeling right now. But I know that God does restore and in the most beautiful, miraculous ways. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I would pack your bags and walk out the door or
Yeah.
kick him out the door, whichever. I don't know what situation you're in or
Yeah.
Yeah.
what you are able to do, but there needs to be a break, a permanent break.
Yeah.
So unless he changes, I don't even think that person should be in the life of your child because that's a very unhealthy human being.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This next question is from our friend Brianna. Brianna says, how can we value others above ourselves without becoming passive people pleasers or losing our sense of self?
So I'm a people pleaser.
I am too.
There you go. Self-confessed. And this gets really, it can get really toxic really fast because when you're a people pleaser, and there's some beautiful parts of that. So the virtuous part of people pleasing, like where it should start before it gets unhealthy, is a love of people and wanting to serve. That's the foundation. When it turns into people pleasing is when you put everybody else's needs in front of yours or your family's. And I've been guilty of that, where I'm trying to look after everybody else, and I call it virtuous, but in reality, it's people pleasing because I'm not trying to please God. I'm trying to please people because I want them to like me. That's the bottom line. So for me, the healthy place is when I can stay in a place of serving, right priorities, and loving my family first. which I can get wrong really, really quickly, especially in my line of work as a pastor. Serve, 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 serve. And then we call it all different kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But looking after your own heart, your own soul, the whole soul of your family, and making sure that they are in the right priorities. That's how we guard ourselves from allowing it to become toxic or people pleasing, or you're a doormat to everybody else's, agenda. And you're trying to make sure that it's Galatians 1:10 it's a challenging verse, but it's really good, especially for people who struggle in this area. Like, who am I actually trying to please, God or man? Because if I'm trying to please man, I can't please God.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that becomes kind of that underlying foundation of who am I actually trying to please in this situation? Am I pleasing God, or I'm just trying to get people to like me? One is beautiful. The other one can get toxic really fast.
I think it's important to know too that like even good things have parameters and boundaries, right?
Mm.
So when it comes to serving, especially if you're in ministry or that's just your heart, looking after other people, you aren't going to be able to give more than you have. And so we have to value ourselves. We have to make sure we're in a healthy place physically, emotionally, spiritually before we even have anything to give. And it requires incredible discernment in how we value
Mhm.
others too, because sometimes we can give recklessly and it doesn't help the other person and it certainly doesn't help ourselves. So I think in all of those moments, God has to be a part of the decision making. And how am I using my time?
Yeah.
How am I using my finances? And make sure that God's a part of that, because that shows where you place value.
Hmm.
And that is by no means when he says, value. What's the verse? I'm trying to think of even what that verse is where
To put others,
I know
I know which one you're talking
spot.
about. Consider others greater than yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it doesn't mean diminishing yourself or demeaning. Like the one thing the Bible is full of is knowing your worth and knowing who you are. So always keep that in perspective, that if you don't have a good view of who you are, that's not going to be a healthy way to approach life. But if you are confident and know this is who I am, there will be a healthy balance in how you are serving others. And
Yeah. That's so good. Jesus had, this, when you think about it, right? He said, if you want to be great in my kingdom, you learn to be the servant of all. And he was the perfect servant, but he also had the greatest sense of identity of anyone. He knew exactly who he was in his Father's eyes as the Son of God, as God the Son. He knew himself thoroughly, and that allowed him to actually serve more. And it's interesting that there were times when Jesus chose, like there were all kinds of needs around him all of the time, and he still stepped away.
yeah,
I need to go. I'm going to
Yeah.
disappear. And I was amazed. The first time we were in Israel, I'm like, how did he pull that off? Like he would just disappear. If you go to Galilee, the Sea of Galilee, there are these little juts of land that stick out into the lake all over the place. And you literally, because I did it once, you can literally disappear through the bushes around the lake and you're gone. Nobody can see you. And I just thought, oh, this is exactly what he would do. He would just literally slip away because he said, I got to go pray. I need to go talk to my Father. I need to fill this cup back up again. And I love the fact that Jesus was so human. Like, I'm going to go refill the tank because I've been giving all day long. I've been loving, serving, helping, healing, correcting, rebuking Pharisees, doing all the thing. I need some alone time. I'm going to go and refill my cup.
I love that he often went out on a boat too. And I
Yeah.
get that. There's something about being out on the water that I'm like,
it's beautiful.
this fills me back up again.
Yeah. So Jesus gives us a beautiful picture of it.
And it shows the humanness of everything. It wasn't just some guy that was like a mythical type.
Yeah.
Like there were very human parts.
I'm tired.
Jesus wept.
Yeah.
Jesus wept. I don't have any more words.
Yeah.
I'm going to go talk to my dad, my spiritual father.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
I love that part of it.
Yeah. That's a great question. This next question is from Erica. Erica says, at 47, I still long for marriage and children, but it feels like God keeps saying no. If it's not his will, why does he leave me with this unfulfilled desire for family and marriage?
I think that's a natural, what we all want, a place to be loved. We want connection. We want that feeling of people around us who love us in spite of ourselves sometimes. So I think what Eric is talking about is a very natural inclination that there's a hole inside of all of us, and how God fills that relationally for us can be so different.
I think we often think though that marriage and kids is going to fill that
Yes.
lonely void.
Hmm.
And the truth is there's a lot of married people that are
Super
very,
lonely.
very lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's also just knowing that sometimes I'm not even saying God's withholding that, but there can sometimes be a protectiveness in what we don't get or what we don't receive because he sees a fulfillment in our lives in a different way. And family most definitely isn't always defined by a husband and kids. It is sometimes through just amazing friends and the other people that God puts
Yeah.
around you. So I think I would use that desire at the moment to pour into the lives of other people and allow them to pour back into you and and still keep praying. Like it's never like who knows why that hasn't happened yet at this point in your life. But I think it's just surrendering to God's best for you, which again is so often beyond our understanding. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of it's only going to make sense when we get to heaven and can go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's why you held back. Or, that's why this person didn't come into my life or I didn't marry that person because it wouldn't have been healthy or good. And so God always works things for our good. And I don't know what that looks like in your world. I just know that for so many that have not wanted to be single, they've gotten married. And there's some that say, I wish I was single
Mhm.
Yeah.
because this is not the life that I really thought it would be. And I'm not saying that marriage isn't amazing. And God does use that teamwork and obviously he created marriage and the sanctity of it and it's beautiful, but it's not easy. It's two very imperfect people trying to
Yeah.
do life together and the challenges are big and
Yeah. Sinner plus sinner does not equal perfect harmony or
Yeah.
perfect relational fulfillment. That's just not good math, right?
Yeah.
It is a place where you can be refined,
and
but
for a lot of
yeah.
people it doesn't even equal companionship.
So true.
Yeah.
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 Especially when
Yeah.
you put them in the same house.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just see what this happens.
So I heard a single person, they're actually part of our staff here. They were talking about how do I combat the loneliness in my singleness? And what they were literally doing was creating a list of things that are blessings because they're single.
Mm,
And they said,
yeah.
I will literally go back in my journal and look at, I'm free to come and go as I please.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use that freedom for God's glory in so many different ways. I have a different kind of perspective on time. Like my time is literally my time. I don't share it with anyone else. So I can prioritize things differently. They also talked about how God had created this extended family in and around them. And they were talking about roles as a godfather or a godmother who'd been invited into another family system. They were the one, they could be the one safe auntie or uncle, that was just these kids see me differently. They had created a list of blessings that have come out of their singleness. And they were talking about in moments when I'm really lonely, I'll go back to that list of blessings and just remind myself of how God has created this season in my life, or this calling on my life to remain in this place relationally so that I can focus on other people. And I just thought it was just an incredibly healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll get to a couple more questions before we get to our stretch. This next question is from Brian. Brian says, I've realized Christians go through many seasons, feeling close or far from God, doubt, hope, temptation, the list goes on. But how should we view these seasons and what does God say about them?
So I love Ecclesiastes.
That's what was going through my mind too when you're talking seasons.
Oh my gosh. So there's so much wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And I love that Solomon just lays it out, right? There is a time for war and a time for peace. There's a time to fight for something and there's a time to enter into a season of peace and allow the lack of conflict to be beautiful in your life. There's a time to plant and there's a time to uproot. Like there's a time to tear something up by the roots. And if in Ecclesiastes 3, when you go through all of the seasons, I think the beauty of it at the end is when he says, for every time in life, there is a season. So grabbing a hold of whatever season you're in and saying, God, I know this is a gift. It's a gift. Now, uprooting something that can be painful, but maybe it's something that needs to go. Like let's say I've got a weed of bitterness in my life. I got to pull that thing out by the roots. That's a gift when it's gone. The pulling part may be really, really painful, but to also know there's a time to plant. Like I'm in a season, maybe you're in a season right now where you get to plant goodness and kindness and gentleness and faithfulness and love and self-control and joy. I mean, you get to plant those things in your own life as well.
Well,
So,
and I think just even the seasons of emotions, right? Like a
Mhm.
season for mourning and a season for dancing.
Yep.
And there are times it's really important we do mourn and we take that time
Yeah.
to grieve. And then there are times that we need to embrace joy too. So
Yeah.
I think it's not just the doing, it's the feeling part too, the different seasons that we enter into. But yeah, I think God's very much saying they're all valid and look for me there.
Yeah.
Look for
That's
me and
it.
look for me in the midst of it, because again, we're growing, and not only do we learn about who we are, we learn about who God is in all those different seasons and moments in life. And that's what makes life so rich. Reflecting back, it is
Hmm.
truly like, do we love all those amazing, wonderful, easy moments in our life? For sure.
Of course.
But it is always, we go back to the tough times. That's like, that's where we really learned. That's where we really, really grew.
Yeah.
So those are really, really important times to embrace as well.
Yeah. I think the whole understanding, I love Ecclesiastes and I love Psalms too, even though I walk through the valley.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
I'm going through the valley,
Yeah.
and there's another mountain on the other side of that whole thing. And God is the presence of God, as according to Psalm 23, he's in both places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where is he in the midst of it? Embrace the season that you're in. Like I think sometimes we pass through those seasons of mourning. We just want to get through it. I like, hurry up, let's go through. And we don't actually mourn and grieve well.
Yeah.
And because when you emerge out the other side of that, there's more life if you're actually willing to spend the time. And Jesus grieved. He mourned different things so that he could embrace even more life on the other side. I think it's a beautiful gift. And so all of the seasons. So Ecclesiastes 3, that's where I would send you biblically to have that morning, because Solomon had that perspective.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think of the other verse that's in there. I'm thinking of the verse that says, tears last for the night, but joy comes in the morning. I know it's a song, but it's also a scripture. And then there's the also part of, great is your faithfulness, and it's new every single morning. Your faithfulness is evident. So the night seasons are important, but the day seasons are important too.
But I think
Mhm.
you also can't miss the like, life is meaningless or whatever.
That part of it's there. Yeah.
Because you do get to that part in Ecclesiastes. But I think what it's saying is just remember, this is a blip on the radar screen. So
Yeah.
all these emotions, all these seasons that we experience on earth,
Yeah.
like in the light of eternity, they're like that. And so I think that's what he's saying is like, you're going to make it through. There's something so much greater on the other side. So yeah, these are the seasons we walk through on earth, but
Yeah.
just wait.
Well, the thing that I like about Ecclesiastes is, so our friend that sent the question in, he's actually in a place where like everything just feels so futile. Solomon got there, and he had wealth. He had it all, and he still got to that place where I just feel like I'm in a season where none of this stuff seems to have any value. And as he moves through it, he doesn't actually come to this nice, tidy resolution. He ends up, to me, this is just to me, but he ends up in a place of reflecting, going, all of the seasons actually matter.
Mhm.
All of the seasons matter. And that's what brings him to whatever level of resolution Solomon finds.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a great question. We'll get to a couple more. This next question is from Shamimi. This one says, how can I break free from generational patterns of poverty, confusion, and mediocrity?
I thought she was going to say generational curses, but then she said generational
Patterns of poverty
patterns
and confusion.
Yeah. Generational patterns.
I think curses is a great one. We get a lot of those questions too, so we can hit that.
We do.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about patterns is that they may be well established, but God can break them. And when we are willing to step into it and say, God, I want to break this pattern from off of my family. I want to break it over these generations. And I need you to be able to do that. So God, what's the one thing you're calling me to today that's not going to put me in that spiritual poverty mindset or a physical poverty mindset? I'm not a prosperity gospel person. I'm just not. I think some of the most joyful people I've ever met have had the least.
Mm-hmm.
And yet their heart was, I'm rich in God in every moment. And that tends to trickle out in different sorts of ways. So my encouragement would be to, the God who says, out of the riches of my, the extraordinary riches of my glory, I'm going to bless you. And to realize that those patterns are broken through a relationship with the one who has inexhaustible joy, wisdom, hope. And it's not just about financial wealth. It's about being rich and wealthy in your heart with the family that God has placed around you, and choosing to see. That's how I see myself as being rich.
Yeah, I think just even seeing that God's already revealed something to you, because I feel like so often we don't see those patterns. How we grow up is just what we know, and that seems normal to us, and we continue in that path. So I feel like God's already speaking in amazing ways to you, saying, I have something different for you. And he would never reveal that to you if he doesn't already have a path and a plan for you.
Yeah.
So I think just saying thank you for showing me this. Thank you for showing me there's something different that you want for me. Now I'm going to trust you with every step. And it might be baby steps that you're taking, but know that he's already got a way planned for you. So it is just stepping out into faith and trusting God. You're going to show me. You're going to show me how to complete this plan that you have designed for me. So I think it's going to just take steps. But yeah, realize God's already working in an amazing way. I'm so proud of you for just seeing things. We talk about that just often, how you grow up in different ways with different mindsets, and they just become such a part of you. And it's really hard to break free. Like even when you're saying you're writing this message and you're still doing what you've always been taught. So I think God's already put you on a path. Just keep taking those steps and he'll guide and direct you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. This will be our last question before the stretch, but I love this. We get it every now and then. It says, what does surrendering your life to Jesus look like?
Well, it's minute by minute for me. It's not just that I surrender all and you walk down the aisle.
It would be nice if it was, here's all of it.
Yeah, it's not just that moment. So I honestly, there are so many times in a day that, Lord, I've got to give this to you. It's too much. Sometimes for me, it's got to be tangible. I've got to write it down and say, God, I've got to give this to you. Sometimes it's a conversation that happens in my heart. Sometimes it's a conversation between the two of us. So I think depending on what you're surrendering, it could look very differently. But it's got to make the connection from your mind to your heart. So I think so often we say, I surrender this, and then we're holding on like this. And so we're only going to know we've surrendered it when change happens and we feel a weight lifting. And that's when we know, okay, I'm actually not trying to do this on my own anymore.
Yeah. When you think about it, right, like, God, I'm frustrated. I want to surrender my frustration to you. Help me to see this situation differently. God, I'm angry. I want to surrender my anger to you, because my anger is not helping anyone. In fact, it's not even helping me. There's times when righteous anger is appropriate, but often we're on the wrong side of it. Well, let's go super practical. So at the beginning of our time together in the podcast, this picture seemed to be off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I tried to move the picture, and I have this thing inside of me that's just like, nope, can't be done. Nope, you can't do the picture. And then Gabe steps over because he's like, actually, it's Velcro and I can do this. And it was done. But I have this thing that I need to surrender daily, which my automatic answer to so many life situations is, nope, can't be changed. It's the way it is.
And just try. Put your hands on it. Grab it.
Grab and pull. I'm like, I'm going to wreck something. There's all of this stuff. But even surrendering that.
Yeah.
Like, God, give me a heart for the yes.
Yeah.
Give me a heart for the yes. That there's nothing impossible. Scripture says nothing is impossible with God, including moving pictures on walls. But I just have this natural default. So laying that down for me is a discipline. And I didn't do it earlier today. So I appreciate the person who sent that question in because it makes me reflect for just a moment. Grant, one more time, you need to learn to lay down your no. Like you just no, no, no. I just say no to so many things. And I wonder how much I'm missing out on because God's always got this better yes. So
That's
anyway,
good.
that's practical. So for me, surrendering to Jesus, yes, there's a salvation moment, and then there's a lifetime. I want to lay this down. I want to lay this down. I want to surrender this today. God, help me surrender my selfishness, whatever that happens to be. And that's actually spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I said that was the last question, but a live question came in
Okay.
from our friend Susan that I just feel like we should get to. It's a parental question. It says, how do you go on when your children want nothing to do with you?
That's got to be so incredibly hard. I don't think anybody can hurt you more than your kids can,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
But we're hearing that more and more, just parents or kids that are deciding they want nothing to do with their parents. And that is just such an act of the enemy, because I have no idea where that's coming from or why we're seeing it over and over again. I think we just have to continue to love them in the ways that we can. And
Yeah.
that means praying for them, praying that there will be reconciliation down the road. I don't know if they've put this definitive wall up that you cannot communicate with them. I think really that's the only thing you can do is just surrender that relationship and pray into it and see what God does and how he speaks to you in it and gives you the wisdom. There might be little moments along the way that you get to love them tangibly or in person. I don't know. That would be really,
It's a really, really tough one. And I so don't want this to come across like a cliche, but in the story of the prodigal son, and I'm not saying your kids are prodigals, there could be very good reasons why they put up boundaries. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the dad keeps looking at the horizon. And I think what he's doing in that is there's a hope that today may be the day when I can make that sprint, you know, and welcome them back. I think keeping a heart of, if and when they're ready, I'm going to be ready too.
Yeah.
My heart is open. It's not closed off. I think making sure that your heart doesn't close off is a part of the way that you keep going on. And so you open your heart, you pray, and Lord, soften them towards me. If there's something I need to own, like maybe they put up the wall for a good reason. Is there something I need to own? Is there an apology I need to make? Is there a reconciliation or a restoration that needs to happen in my own heart and then with them? Owning whatever that is. If there isn't anything, then I think keeping that heart of anticipation that one day God's heart too is, God has lots of kids that don't want anything to do with him, but it doesn't stop him from loving them. And so staying in that position of, I'm going to keep loving you. I will love you from a distance if I have to. And then praying for the day when you get to welcome them home again.
Yeah.
To me, that's what keeps you going on, because that's the heart of a parent.
And I think it also gives you a chance to do a real good gut check too, because we're all kids, right? And are we honoring our parents well? You know, we might be struggling with how our kids are honoring us at times, but how are we doing? What have we modeled for them in how to honor our parents? So it's a good gut check question too.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I had to learn when I was a child, or even I think in my teen years, was that my parents, it's their first time doing life too. And I was almost putting them kind of on this pedestal of like, well, they should have it figured out.
Yeah, you should know.
Yeah. And so once I learned that, it was a little bit easier to wrap my head around. Okay, well, yeah, they do have faults. There are things like we all do.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about just praying for them. I saw this clip the other day. It was a couple that were in their 80s, been married for 60, I think, plus years. And she had been praying for her husband to accept Jesus for 60 plus years.
Oh, wow.
And it was a video of him accepting Christ and being baptized. And the camera pans to her and she's just illuminated, but she's crying and she's worshiping all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just a great example of, like we said
Don't
earlier,
ever stop.
Don't ever stop.
Just like he collects our tears, he hears every prayer.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was just a beautiful example of how that persistent prayer, he's going to hear it.
So good.
So he'll work it out for your good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I've said a couple times the stretch. So if you don't know what that is, like we respond to questions throughout the whole podcast, but we've kind of incorporated this new segment where we talk about what God's stirring in our hearts. What are we walking with? What's on our hearts?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do now. What has been your guys' stretch? I know summer's kind of coming to an end, and so the busyness doesn't stop.
I know.
But
And I think I'm feeling that coming into this, because I just thought, this is really hard. Like, Lord, what have you been teaching me? Because my heart really feels kind of empty, and I feel weary. I feel overwhelmed. And when I was reflecting on this, I went to my phone, because that's where I have my little Jesus moments recorded.
They're all recorded.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay, there's going to be something that, will just kind of remind me of something you've spoken to me. And it was really disconcerting to see that, gosh, everywhere that my finger landed, it was on an agenda for a meeting, or a task list for a project, or just a to-do list for my day. And I thought, wow, it's not like I'm doing anything like definitively bad, but I'm definitely not soaking in God's goodness. That's for sure. And there's that verse in Proverbs that says, guard your heart above all else, because it determines the course of your life. And I'm thinking, yeah, like, I haven't been a bundle of joy the last little while. I mean, ask him. So I've kind of let, like, the weariness and exhaustion just dictate my mood, and that's not a good place for decision making. It leaves us really vulnerable. And so I think just doing an inventory, I'm going, what is monopolizing my mind? What's consuming my time? Who am I going to, just for that wisdom and counsel? Because it's so true that the state of your heart really determines how you live your life. And I think that's why God says, protect it. It matters. And that doesn't mean like build a wall around it, but just be a really good curator of what you're allowing in. So I think in my emptiness, God is just teaching me, pay better attention to your heart and the condition of your heart, because it will determine what your days look like.
Yeah. That's really good. Laurel's not joyful moments are still joyful to me.
I don't know. There's a few moments I don't want to play back.
Well, we all got those. Mine actually came, it kind of culminated yesterday. So I had the opportunity to jump on a Zoom call and talk with a group of young guys who are just doing really good stuff for Jesus in the world. And I really felt like, again, the Lord was stretching me with regards to, if you'll be vulnerable and transparent, I'll bless that. So I tried to lead with vulnerability and transparency, and sharing things in my life, my ministry, my parenting, my husbanding, that, boy, I wish I could go back and change. I can't. But here's where I got it wrong. Here are some places I got it wrong, and I hope you can learn from my mistakes. And what I learned, again, was just like, when you're vulnerable, God does beautiful things in other people's lives. So he keeps stretching me in that area. Go 2 steps further than you think you need to when it comes to being vulnerable with what God is teaching you and how you've had to learn. And God blesses it, and he gives it back to you over and over and over again. And it was such a privilege and an honor to sit with that. And it just kept reinforcing with me, God's got you when you choose to be real. So stick with the real. Don't manage your image. Don't try to be something you're not.
Yeah.
Just be open and honest. And they all shared different parts of, they've been on a spiritual journey for the last week or so. And they all shared, it was the vulnerable moments when people shared not what they got right, but what they got wrong, that touched their hearts in the deepest place. So that's where I'm getting stretched.
I love that. I was reading through all the questions yesterday, just like literally staring at them, reading them out in my head, and just even praying like, God, do you want me to switch something? What do you want me to do? And then I look at the very bottom and it says the stretch, because I'll just write that as my little reminder. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I have a stretch. I just feel like I've been doing so much. I haven't been able to, we're human beings, but I've been doing so much. Yeah. And so I kept replaying that in my head. And I felt like God was like, well, that's your stretch. You're doing so much that you're not being, because we're human beings. We're not human doings.
Mm.
And so I felt like that was my stretch for, I'd say, the past month, was just finding space and finding areas to be with God instead of do for God. Because in ministry, that we're constantly doing things to push people closer to Jesus. And I think it was 3 weeks ago that my wife and I attended church together, and worship starts, and we both just sat there in tears, and we just held hands and just we just sat in the moment. We just wanted to be. And it was tears of joy. Like, it was just pure, not getting to do that as often as we would like to or want to, but and then getting to listen to Brian's message and just really let God's presence rest over us. And so I felt like that was kind of a wake-up call for both of us, not just me, but for Jill. We need to be more instead of do more, because the list can go on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, at my desk, I have a Bible sitting on the top right, and I'll be staring at my computer just doing stuff, and I'll find my eyes look at it, and I'll be like, I got stuff to do, and I'll keep looking at it. And so I'll find myself just opening it up to random spots, and even that 5-minute chunk of time is sometimes enough to fill my cup for the rest of my day. And so that's been my stretch, is just find space and find areas where I can just be instead of try to always be doing something.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. But guys, it's been a lot of fun. We've talked about a lot of different things
Covered
today.
a lot.
Yeah. But thank you guys for joining us and for hanging out with us and giving us your questions. If we weren't able to get to your questions, I promise I do see them. I'm taking screenshots the whole time, and we'll try our best to get to them next time. Grant and I will be live next week, normal Wednesday, same time, same place, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But until then, we love you guys. You are seen, you are heard, and you are sent. God bless you guys.
Thanks.